Okay. All right. Looks like it's running. Okay. So, okay. So as I mentioned, when we have been throughout the semester, okay, from the very first class, actually, we've been using CGI scripting. So that's why I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Our very first script was the one that we used to just practice, okay, getting our web server up and running. Okay, and all it does is it creates a little web page with an image on it. And I can easily run that. Whoa, okay. Yes, with our very giant image on it. Okay. 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 When I look at this script, there's a couple things. Let me open up a different one. This is the one that's actually on the website too. Okay, so I'm just going to very briefly go over the different components of this script. We've been kind of doing it like we do Hello World. You know, take this on faith. It just works. Okay, so I have the first line is actually a line that tells the operating system how to run this script. Okay, so most of the Python scripts we've been running in prior courses, if not all of them, use something like, we typed Python 3 first script.py. Okay, and that will still work here. Okay, but when we're running a CGI script, we're typically not running it from the command line like that. Okay, typically what we're doing is running it from a server line. Okay, so I might have, let me see if I can get this to come up without. Okay, so I might have something like a login and password. Okay, oh, shoot. I have that going to a different, I have it going to a different message. Take it back to message. Forgot to refresh. Oh, that's so bad, April. Okay, so refresh. Okay, so here's, my response. Okay, I type in a user ID and password. Okay, I hit the submit button. That opens, okay, this file. Okay, when this file opens, okay, the first line is read and the operating system says, oh, okay, I'm supposed to use Python 3 to actually execute this script. Okay, so all of that sort of happens magically behind the scenes for us. Okay, then the next two lines are just allowing us to have access. Well, CGI is an import library. We know how those work. Okay, but the field storage function gets us access to the form fields, okay, that were used. So here we saw, let's get rid of that. Okay, here we saw it print out the information, okay, from user ID and password. Okay, and that's basically I have to set up this form. Okay, then I can use form.getValue. There's a couple of different ways I can do this. Okay, to get the user ID and the password and just print them out. Okay, this line just tells the web browser that what's coming next should be treated as HTML code. I try to put this required little bit of documentation here so I don't forget about it. And the rest of this is just a bunch of print lines which are printing things out to the server. Okay, I'm going to make one minor change here. I'm going to change this from a post to a get. and reload it. Okay, now when I do this, I get the same result. Okay, the only difference is that user ID and password that I typed in fact, any form fields, will appear in the URL up here. Okay, notice that I didn't have to change anything in here, so that this get value will work whether I've done it with a post or with a get command. I don't have to change my Python at all, okay, if I change that. Okay, so that's something that's only in HTML, okay, and you can do it either way. Okay, now if I wanted to change the password here to test something, okay, I can just rerun the script directly. I don't necessarily need to go back to the form to do that. Okay. All right. All right, the only difference between message and message to, let me just bring this up briefly, okay, is message to, instead of printing out the user ID and password, it saves it to a file, okay, and instead of giving a message, it actually redirects. So what it's printing here is a bunch of JavaScript code, okay, to redirect the user back to the home page. Okay, so when I'm doing my clickjacking attack, oh, come on. All right, I guess it's going to make me do it the hard way. Never figure out what algorithm it uses for this. Okay, so when I do my clickjacking attack, okay, and I type in my user ID and password, and I hit login, and I remember to change it. So close. My master page, I'm going to have go to message to. Back here, refresh. Okay, it actually redirects me back to the home page, the real home page, if you will. Okay, and the user hopefully never even realizes that they've been clickjacked. Okay, in the meantime, the information has been saved off to this file here. Here I fixed a bug halfway through. Okay, so that's the, sort of the main idea of CGI scripting. As I said, we've been using that throughout. Okay, so the thing I want to add to the conversation now is using those CGI scripts to create a simple API, okay, that we can then use, okay, to, in our case, we're going to read our products and prices using an API call, okay, and then ultimately what we're going to do is change from using a flat file with the data in it to actually reading a database with the data in it. Okay, so each time through we make little incremental changes to make our website more robust. Okay, so here is the file that we're going to read. It's just book titles and authors and number of pages. And here I have a program which will take this file and create a JSON file. So let me show you those again in the better contrast system. Sure, save that. I don't know what I changed, but why not? Good dangerously. Okay. It never remembers anything. Okay. Okay, so within my CGI bin, just so you know, I created a books.csv, okay, that just has that data in it in CSV format. Okay, and I'm going to open my API call, which is just called get books. Okay. Okay, so anything I have in this with the PY extension, okay, I have my shebang line. Okay, and all I'm doing is actually creating a basically this is a function that takes a CSV file and converts it into a JSON object, basically. I stole most of this from another website, but at this point I've made so many changes to it, it's pretty much my stuff. Okay, so I create the content type, or I just select my input file here, okay, create a dictionary, read my CSV. If you haven't learned to use the CSV library, I highly recommend you do so. It is awesome. So I read the CSV into a dictionary. Then I go through that dictionary and create my data rows. Okay, and then I use this JSON.dumps, okay, in Python to take my data dictionary and print it out as a giant JSON object. Okay, so again, I can run that API from anywhere since I don't require a user ID and password to do it. Okay, so here I have like book 1 is this object. Book 2, okay, is learning Python. Book 3 is web design, and etc. Okay, so this is a big JSON object, which I can then parse when I get into my actual online HTML program. I'm just keeping an eye on the time here. Okay, so you could read through this carefully yourself, but pretty straightforward stuff. Notice it doesn't even use the CGI because there's no form fields that come into this. It could have form fields, that would be fine, but I just don't happen to need them in this case. I'll probably do a more complex example Wednesday just to give you guys a sense of it. Okay, and then I'm going to use that same Ajax code. Sorry. Okay, and it's literally the same code. I changed the, my employee list to my book list. Okay, and I changed what my callback function does. Here's my callback function, and I changed it so that it creates a table. Okay, I think I also I added some style. Yeah, I added some style up here to put a border around the table. Otherwise, it looked funny. Okay, so I set myself up to read from the GetBooks API. This is my callback function. I send the request. Okay, once I send the request, okay, I come in here. This was just a little debugging code that I forgot to comment out. Okay, I parse that as a JSON object. Okay, then I set it as a cookie because we were practicing cookies in the last section. I don't really need to do that. Okay, but I'll come back to that if we have time. Okay, then I do a get element by ID to get the list object. Set up some new elements. We know how to do create elements. Okay, set up the inner HTML and append a bunch of stuff. Okay, and in the end, I have a table with my book information. Okay, so when I test book. Oh, come on. You're not going to remember? I think it just enjoys watching me type. Okay, so Again, I'm doing this asynchronously, so when I use the API, I just click it, and here is the information. If I look at my server, okay, because I am hosting Get Books, I wasn't hosting the dummy page, okay, but because I am hosting the Get Books, you can see the Get request here on this page. Let me just scoot this over. So if I do fetch data again, you can see it do it again. Oh, and I'm just adding to my list here. Okay. Just the way I have my code set up. Okay. Questions on this one? Okay, so for the next lab, okay, you're going to have to set up a CSV file like this with your products and prices. Okay, you'll have to create a little API like our Get Books API. Okay, and then from your products page, okay, you'll have to do an AJAX call to load that information in and basically create your products page dynamically. Okay, that's probably the most intense part of the next homework or next lab. The lab which is not due for 2 weeks. Okay, here the other class wanted me, and some of you came in late. Okay, so here we were pretending that I was going to need the book list on a different page. Okay, so I was going to set a cookie with that book list. Okay, and I'm taking the JavaScript object and stringifying it, okay, to store it in that cookie. Okay, the first step of any cookie related matters is to go to W3 Schools and copy the function. So I copied the set cookie function directly from W3 Schools. Okay, and then on my I have no idea why it does that. On my read cookie page, I again copied the get cookie function directly from W3 Schools. Okay, I call that get cookie function with the same cookie name. I parse it as a JSON object, and then I just print out the first item, okay, in the book list after I've parsed it as an object. Okay, so go back to my, let me make sure I've saved that. I'll reload my book list, okay, and then I'll okay, so here I've read the cookie and I'm just printing out the one object or alerting. I promised I'd put this code online for folks who need it. So I have just that alert there. I'm not doing anything as fancy as you will no doubt do after you read the cookie. Okay, but this shows how to read the cookie. On Wednesday, we'll read the cookie in Python, which requires a different process than reading the cookie in JavaScript. Let me start.